Prayer. Father, which art in heaven, again, just be with me, Lord, as I present this message, Lord. Ask and pray that the minds and hearts of the people listening, Lord, here in attendance and on our social media platforms will be touched by what is being said, Lord, and make improvements and changes in our lives. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Good afternoon. Happy Sabbath, everyone. Today we'll be dealing with the subject of overeating and how that can be a detriment to your body, health, and soul. As usual, I always start my health sermons with this quote from the Spirit of Prophecy. The controlling power of appetite will prove the ruin of thousands, when if they are conquered on this point, they will have more power to gain the victory over every other temptation of Satan. But those who are slaves to appetite will fail in perfecting Christian character. The continual transgression of man for 6,000 years has brought sickness, pain, and death as its fruits. And as we near the close of time, Satan's temptation to indulge appetite will be more powerful and more difficult to overcome. So obviously the key point here is the controlling power of appetite will prove the ruin of thousands, when if they have conquered on this point, they will have more power to gain the victory over every other temptation of Satan. So it all starts with the appetite. So we gain the victory, we gain control over our appetite, then that puts us in a better position to resist any other temptation that comes from the devil. So when we're talking about appetite and overeating, two phrases come to mind. You have gluttony and you have obesity. So when we talk about gluttony, it means overindulgence, overcompensation of food, drink, or wealth items, particularly as a status symbol. So you can be a gluttony of, if you're into wealth and status and money and stuff like that, you can be a gluttonous for those types of things. Obesity is a complex disease involving an excessive amount of body fat. Obesity isn't just a cosmetic concern, it's a medical problem that increases the risk of other diseases and health problems such as heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and certain cancers. So when you don't have control over your appetite, then you become gluttonous and you become obese. So I want to go to a scripture dealing with controlling our appetite. Let's go to Genesis. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25, we're going to read verses 29 through 34. Genesis chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 29 through 34. And Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." And Esau said, talking to himself, "Behold, I am at the point to die. What profit shall this birthright do to me?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob got Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So in this case right here, Esau sold his birthright because he couldn't have control over his appetite. So when you think about the things we will do if we not have our appetite under control, when hunger hits, you'll be surprised what you would do when you're hungry and if you don't have control over your appetite. Counsels on diet and food. This is on page 133, and it reads, "The Word of God places the sin of gluttony in the same catalog with drunkenness. So offensive was this sin in the sight of God that he gave direction to Moses that a child who would not be restrained on that point of appetite, but will gorge himself with anything his taste might crave, should be brought by his parents before the rulers of Israel and should be stoned to death. The condition of the glutton was considered hopeless. He will be of no use to others and was a curse to himself. No dependence could be placed upon him in anything. His influence will be ever contaminating others, and the world will be better without such a character, for his terrible defects will be perpetuated. None who have a sense of their accountability to God will allow the animal propensities to control them, control reason. Those who did this are not Christians, whoever they may be, and however exalted their profession. The injunction of Christ is, be you therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. He here shows us that we may be as perfect in our sphere as God is in his sphere. Also reading from Christian Temperance and Bible Hygiene, she reads, as men multiply upon the earth, after the flood, they again forgot God and corrupted their ways before him. And temperance in every form increased until almost the whole world was given to its sway. Entire cities have been swept from the face of the earth because of the debasing crimes and revolting iniquity of them, a blot upon the fair field of God's created work. The gratification of unnatural appetite led to the sins that caused the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. God describes the fall of Babylon to her gluttony and drunkenness. Indulgence of appetite and passion was the foundation of all their sins. A quote from George Herbert says, gluttony kills more than the sword. Another quote from James Lyndall Basford says, the most of what a glutton eats goes to create a desire for more. So let me read that again very slowly. The most of what a glutton eats goes to create a desire for more. So whatever a glutton eats, he has a desire to eat it even more. So it's a kind of like a never-ending circle that needs to be broken. Some CDC statistics. The U.S. obesity prevalence was 42.4% in 2017-2018. From 1999 to 2000 through 2017 through 18, U.S. obesity prevalence increased from 30.5% to 42.4%. During the same time, the prevalence of severe obesity increased from 4.7% to 9.2%. Obesity-related conditions include heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancers. These are among the leading causes of preventable and premature death. The estimated annual medical cost of obesity in the United States was $147 billion in 2008. Medical costs for people who had obesity was $1,429 higher than the medical costs for people with healthy weight. Black adults had the highest adjusted prevalence of obesity at 49.6%. Hispanic adults came in second with 44.8% of the highest adjusted prevalence of obesity. White adults had 42.2%, had the highest adjusted prevalence of obesity. And then Asian adults is down to 17.4 as that adjusted rate. So when you're talking about within the Asian culture, unfortunately, within the United States, meat is our kind of like our part of our, we consider that part of our meal. But within the Asian culture, meat is not considered a part of their meal. It's more of an accent, something you put on top of the meal. It's not part of the meal. So you can see because how they treat meat eating differently than what we do in other countries, you can see their rate of obesity is way down versus other cultures. The obesity prevalence was 40% among adults ages 20 to 39 years old, 44.8% among adults ages 40 to 59 years, and 42.8% among adults 60 and older. Obesity affects 1 in 6 children in the United States. Around 17% of American children 2 to 19 have obesity. That's more than 12.7 million American children. 1 in 8 preschoolers have obesity. The good news is obesity rate among preschooler children has begun to fall in recent years. Overweight children are more likely to become overweight adults. Children who are overweight or have obesity are 5 times more likely to have obesity or be obese, overweight adults than children of normal weight. This can increase their risk for many chronic diseases and health complications. In child guidance, it says, as the children emerge from babyhood, great care should still be taken in educating their tastes and appetites. Often they are permitted to eat what they choose, and when they choose, without reference to health, the pains and money so often lavished upon unwholesome dainties lead to the young to think that the highest object in life and that which yields the greatest amount of happiness is to be able to indulge the appetite. The result of this training is gluttony, then comes sickness. More from Christian education. We are living in the age of gluttony, and the habits to which the young are educated, even by many Seventh-day Adventists, are in direct opposition to the laws of nature. I was once seated at the table with 7 children under 12 years of age. Meat was plentifully served, and then a delicate, nervous girl called for pickles. A bottle of chow chow, which is kind of like a pickle relish, with fiery mustard and pungent with spices, was handed her, from which she helped herself freely. The child was proverbial in her nervousness and irritable of temper, and these fiery conditions were well calculated to produce such a condition. The oldest child thought he could not eat a meal without meat, and showed great dissatisfaction and even disrespect if it was not provided for him. The mother had indulged him in his likes and dislikes till she had become little better than a slave to his caprice. The lad had not been provided with work. He spent a great portion of his time in reading, that which was useless or worse than useless. He complained almost constantly of headaches and had no relish for simple food. Before we go there, I want to go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. Deuteronomy chapter 21, we're going to read verses 18 through 21. Again, Deuteronomy 21, Deuteronomy 21, verses 18 through 21. Deuteronomy 21, verses 18 through 21. And this goes back to the spirit of prophecy quote I read earlier. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son, which shall not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of his city and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious, and he will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die, so shall that thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. Kind of funny they put glutton and kind of and rebellious in the same sentence. So what we have here next is dealing with visceral fat, kind of another byproduct of gluttonous and overeating. Visceral body fat, also known as hidden fat, is stored deep inside the belly, wrapped around the organs, including the liver and intestines. It makes up about 1/10 of all fat stored in the body. Most fat is stored underneath the skin and is known as subcutaneous fat. That is the fat that is visible and that you can feel. The rest of the fat in the body is hidden. That is visceral fat. Visceral fat makes the belly stick out or gives a person an apple shape. It also produces chemicals or hormones that can be toxic to the body. Visceral fat produces more toxic substance than subcutaneous fat, so it's more dangerous. Even in thin people, having visceral fat carries a range of health risks. So I added this picture in here, so this is a picture of a python. So when you think about visceral fat as it wraps around your organ, it's like a python. So visceral fat wraps around your organs, and it starts to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until your organs fail you. So this is why visceral fat is kind of one of those things that you must take care of. Proverbs 23, 1 and 2 says, when thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat, If thou be a man given to appetite. So if you're a man given to appetite, you might as well go ahead and put a knife to your throat. Threatening medical conditions. Carrying excess visceral fat increases your risk for developing several serious and life-threatening medical conditions. These include heart attack and heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. We had an individual come several years ago who did a weekend on health stuff, and he says Alzheimer's can almost be considered diabetes type 3 because of how it acts on the brain and stuff like that and sugar. So a lot of the medical communities, they're starting to say that Alzheimer's is a type of diabetes. 5 ways to reduce visceral fat. Get fast food to boot, make good food swaps, lose the booze, smoking, be a quitter, and move it, or exercising. Get fast food to boot. Refined carbohydrates and sugars contribute heavily to our storage of fat. First, try to cut down on free sugars that are found in cakes, sweet biscuits, chocolate, soft drinks, breakfast cereal, and yogurts. Free sugars also found naturally in honey, unsweetened fruit juice, vegetable juices, and smoothies. Try to stick to less than 30 grams of free sugar per day. It's worth remembering this is a maximum, not a recommended amount. Ideally, we wouldn't be having any, but if you like a sweet treat, try to let it be just that, a treat. So let me talk to you here about this. I found out something I was consuming, and I didn't realize how much sugar was in it. So as y'all know, I tried to, when we did like a fast a few weeks ago, I said I was going to give up fat-free cappuccino from Quick Trip. That was one of my guilty pleasures. So thanks to Danielle, there's this little app that tracks what's in your food. So you type it in, you do a bar scan code, and it lists all the things in it. So I started doing the app, logging all my stuff, and then I had like a fat-free French vanilla cappuccino one day, and my sugar just kind of went all over. It just went way over what I was supposed to have for the day. I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, what is going on? Why is this? So I'm looking through the app, and it lists it. So I got if y'all go to Quick Trip, in the coffee section, they have the little small cup, the medium cup, and the large cup. So I'm going to ask a question. How much grams of sugar do you think is in that small cup of those coffees? I heard 40. 68. I heard 68. 180. 70. So I'm trying to all those on social media who may be on the radio. Found out that the little small cup of fat-free French vanilla cappuccino has 63 grams of sugar in it. If you don't understand what that is between about 14 to 15 teaspoons of sugar. So you just drop, just keep on dropping it in. That's how much. So, and I was drinking this pretty much like every day. So I didn't understand, and what you need to understand about sugar and how it's in everything. So if you're not paying attention, you're not reading the labels, that's everything. So condiments, your mustard, your mayonnaise, your ketchup, your barbecue sauce, all that stuff has sugar in it. So you got to start tracking what you're eating. So suffice it to say, once I learned that, I stopped. So I haven't had one since April the 1st. I'm not going to lie, though. There are withdrawal symptoms coming from that because I'm constantly, so you got to understand, it's one thing if I'm have a donut here and I don't eat for a few days, and I do something sweet here and I don't eat nothing for a few days, but I was constantly giving my body 63 grams of sugar every day. So now when I'm cutting that off, there's some withdrawal symptoms that comes with that. So I'm not going to lie, it was a little difficult to pull off that, but when I saw how much, because really, if you're thinking about it, 63 grams of sugar, that should be your sugar intake for the day. That really should be it. You shouldn't be over 100, but 63 is about where you need to be, or in this case, they said 30, 32. But once you start to get the it's My Fitness Pal. I suggest everybody gets it, pay the $77 for the year, and you start tracking, and you're going to realize there's a lot of stuff that you're eating that you didn't realize you was eating. So since I started to track that, I have gotten my sugar underneath what I need to be I got a macro calculator, and I did that part, and it lets you know what you should be, each thing you should be consuming on a daily basis. So, but sugar is in everything. It's in everything. When I say everything, everything. So you have to start reading your labels. Like, I was surprised I was getting canned vegetables from Walmart. And then I started getting canned vegetables from Sprout and Whole Foods. Come to realize, then my sugar started to drop. I didn't understand why. Come to find out, canned vegetables in Walmart, stuff like that, has sugar in it. If I go to Sprouts or Whole Foods, they don't have sugar in their canned vegetables. So these are the things you got to watch out and for when you're choosing your foods. Make good swaps. So these are foods you want to eat instead of some of the bad stuff. So blueberries, loaded with antioxidants. Blueberries battle the bulge by altering the way fat is stored. And that's a great perk for a fruit that that has so many uses. Eat them alone in a fruit salad or even frozen, and watch your waist slim over time. Avocados made up of good fat. So rather than making you plump, they fight the inflammation and help prevent blood sugar spikes that often lead to stored fat around the belly. One of the best and currently trendy ways to eat avocado is on the toast. Oatmeal. Oatmeal may be thick, but it has the opposite effect on your belly. Oatmeal has a great deal of protein and fiber and is fairly low in sugar. This is a perfect combo for a belly blaster. More importantly, oatmeal is filling, allowing you to remain full and energized longer without a high calorie intake. Just remember, we're talking about oatmeal only. Try skipping the butter, the sugar, the milk, and adding fresh fruits and a dash of cinnamon instead. So I eat oatmeal every day for my lunch. So my routine is I go work out, I do morning devotional, I go work out, I come home, I make my own protein smoothie around about 8:30, and then at noon, I will eat oatmeal, a banana, and then an oatmeal. So in my oatmeal, I have flaxseed, 2 teaspoons of grounded flaxseed. I have raw honey, and my raw honey that's it. Not that, and keep going. It's like that. By the tablespoon is about what you need. And I have raw mixed nuts that I add in with my oatmeal. When I say raw mixed nuts, I mean not roasted, not salted, not whatever, no cooking, no nothing to it, mixed raw nuts. That helps with, sometimes so you hear men, talking about men have low T and stuff like that. And what my urologist told me is, it's not that your testosterone has fallen off, it's that your estrogen levels in your body has increased. So for men, when your estrogen levels increase in your body, it interferes with your testosterone in your body. So flaxseed and raw mixed nuts counteracts the estrogen in your body. So there's some of the things to keep in mind when you're talking about soy has estrogen in it. So for men, you need to be careful about how much soy you intake because that does have estrogen, a lot of estrogen in it. So just be careful of those things. Leafy greens are great for your diet, but if you're looking to diminish belly fat, the darker the better. That's because darker leafy greens harness the most of what you need. This includes kale, spinach, collard, mustard greens, Swiss chard, etc. If you're not feeling the taste right off the bat, try it in a base of a smoothie and watch it turn into a beautiful bright green. So when you're talking about lettuce, make sure the darker romaine, dark green leafy lettuce are the lettuce that you want to go for. You don't want to go for iceberg lettuce. There really is no nutritional value in iceberg lettuce. So there's something to keep in mind. So it's kind of funny because I went in Sprouts and it was out of romaine lettuce and the green leafy lettuce for almost a month because of the weather conditions out west. So that's some of the things, so I got lettuce growing in my garden right now. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. Nuts, we just talked about that. Burning belly fat, maybe as simple as going nuts. Yep, adding nuts to your diet means adding a great source of fiber, vitamins for remote weight loss. What's best about nuts is that it's hard to go wrong when choosing which ones to eat. Forms are walnuts to pistachios to almonds, even cashews. So nuts do have fat in it, had some good fat, but you don't want to overdo it with the mixed nuts. So the nuts I put in my oatmeal are kind of like a handful, if that. So just make sure you don't go crazy on the nuts. Peanut butter is loaded with the good fats your body needs. because it's monosaturated. It not only helps lower cholesterol, but helps boost metabolism, which in turn helps fight stored fat. But be careful, too much of anything isn't good. Stick to 1 to 2 teaspoons. And I would say the peanut butter, Jiffy, Skippy, and all that is not the good peanut butter. No. So I know I'm not sure at Sprouts, but I know at Whole Foods, they have natural peanuts and stuff, and you can actually ground and make your own peanut butter at Whole Foods. So that's the kind, the peanut butter you see where the oil's at the top and the peanut butter's at the bottom, you got to mix it up. That's the good peanut butter. That's the good one. So Skippy, and whatever, that's Skippy and Jif are not good peanut butters. Quinoa, once you get past the pronunciation, you can begin to appreciate what quinoa does to your body, especially when it comes to your belly. As a true whole grain, quinoa is high in fiber and protein, which help increase your metabolism and burn body fat. Quinoa is the word for that. So quinoa is, and you can get a lot of proteins from quinoa. So when you come off of eating meat, whether it be fish and all that stuff and eggs, quinoa is a very good substitute as far as eating for protein. And the last thing, garlic. If you ever get beyond the smell, incorporating garlic into your diet can lead to abundance of health perks. Besides attacking stored fat, garlic works as an anti-inflammatory and helps fight off bad bacteria. Try adding garlic to your next meal, or if you're brave, to your lemon, or if you're brave, to your lemon water. Garlic also helps with your blood pressure. So that's one of the things else to keep in mind. Lose the booze. Alcohol makes you gain weight around your midsection without you realizing. It's also easy to go down hundreds of even thousands of liquid calories. Extra alcohol units also place strain on the liver, which is already working overtime to break down the toxic visceral fat acids. If you carry excess visceral fat, give your liver a break. Alternate beers with water. Also with alcohol, is something I came across. Do not consume alcohol in any form, including beer and wine. Alcohol not only adds calories, but it inhibits the burning of fat from fat deposits. So by taking in alcohol, you can actually limit or inhibit your body trying to burn off the fat from your body. It can also interfere with your judgment, so you will find yourself eating things you ordinarily would not. Proverbs 23:20-21. Be not among wine bibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. And a wine bibber is a habitual drinker of alcohol. Smoking, obviously, cigarettes take a toll almost on your entire body. And like visceral fat, smoking increases your risk of cardiovascular disease. Take a step towards quitting today by cutting down the number of cigarettes per week. Exercise. Visceral fat loss comes with combining healthy food, and a good fitness routine. Research found high-intensity interval training, also known as HIIT, to be the best method for losing visceral fat. It also helps increase your insulin sensitivity. Essentially, HIIT involves short bursts of intense exercise alternated with low-intensity recovery periods. So you can do a HIIT routine, which will help you lose fat. You can also, in your weightlifting regimen, there's programs out there where instead of resting every 3 minutes or so to do your exercise, they'll break you down to maybe 45 seconds to 90 seconds. In this case, you're doing lightweight. So you do a lightweight, you do 8 to 12 reps, rest for 90 seconds, come back and do another 4 sets, rest in between exercises, get to the next set, lightweight, and you do like 5 of those. So in an hour, you do like 5 types of exercises, 4 sets apiece, but you have a 90-second rest in between each set. This starts to help almost give you like a cardiovascular workout, like you're walking or something like that. So you can incorporate a kind of like a cardiovascular routine into your weight training. And what you'll find is even lifting lighter weights, but doing this, you can still increase your muscle mass by doing that versus the heavy lifting. So when I became a diabetic when I was like 2022, my doctor said, I don't care what you do, just go do something as far as exercise. I don't care what exercise you do, I just need you to go do something. So that's why I wanted to start doing weight training and stuff like that. But swimming, bicycle riding, walking, running if you have the proper shoes, and from a running shoe store, you need proper shoes if you're going to run. Any kind of exercise, as long as you do it consistently during the week, will help in losing body weight. Some healthy tips. Eat foods raw if possible. If foods are heated, they should be baked, broiled, steamed, or boiled. Never consume fried or greasy foods. Another healthy tip. Limit your intake of food and beverages that contain added sugar. So-called fat-free and low-fat foods are not calorie-free. To add taste, food manufacturers often add sugars. You should always check the nutritional facts label on products before purchasing them. Pay particular attention to the fat in your diet. Some fat is necessary, but it must be the right kind. Avocados, olives, olive oil, raw nuts and seeds, wheat and corn germs are sources of good fats that contain essential fatty acids. Use these foods in moderation no more than twice a week. Eliminate saturated fats from the diet completely. Avoid animal fat found in butter, creams, gravies, ice cream, mayonnaise, meat, rich dressings, and whole milk. Do not eat any fried foods. So you have to be careful about your fat intake, even your good fat intake. You need those below a certain level so they don't add to your body weight. Make your main meal lunch, not dinner. Some people have excellent results consuming no food after 3 p.m. So in Sister White's writing, we have intermittent fasting, which is not new. It's in Sister White's writing. She tells you to eat twice a day, so this is not like some kind of new thing that came out of nowhere. So the only difference in between what they preach in intermittent fasting now is, eat at 12, stop at 8, and then you go 16 hours without eating. Sister White says, eat your breakfast in the morning, eat a meal early afternoon, and that is your intermittent fasting type thing. So I know sometimes if I eat between 3 and 4, usually on the Sabbath afternoon, I'm usually not hungry for the rest of the day. I usually can get through to the next morning if I eat around that time frame. That's kind of like my magic time frame, between 2:30 to 4-ish. When I eat around in there, I'm usually good for the rest of the day. Everybody's going to be a little different. I think the main thing is to find that range that you can go 16 hours without eating. Usually on Sabbaths, like I finished eating yesterday around 6:30. I haven't eaten yet. I probably eat after I'm done with the sermon and stuff like that. And the reason I'm doing that is that I don't want to go 16 hours, but I want my body used to maybe having to go in a day, almost a day without eating. Because as times get worse, you see what's going on in the stores, food's not there. Unexpectedly, you may have to go 24 hours without eating. If you're not in the practice of doing that all the time, when the time comes, you may not be able to do it and may do something unreasonable to get food. So again, this is about controlling your appetite and understanding you need to discipline your body and your mind about how you eat. Philippians 3:18 through 19, it says, "For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of Christ, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things." Here are some herbs that can help with weight loss: butcher's broom, cardium, cayenne, cinnamon, garcina, Cambodia, I think, ginger, mustard seed. So these are some of the things that some herbs you can take that will help with weight loss. But here's the thing. If you're not eating correctly, this don't mean anything. It just doesn't. So if you're constantly going fast food, going out to eat, fried food, a whole bunch of sugar, you can take all this you want. It's not going to work because these help when your body is kind of almost in control of what you're doing. But if all the things in your body is way out of whack, then these herbs won't help. They'll help a little, but they won't get you to the point where you need to be. So it just really comes down to understanding how to eat, what to eat, so when you do introduce these herbs, it becomes way more effective. So that's the goal here, to be way more. So a lot of this is coming down to is what you're going to eat, how you're going to eat, and understanding what you're putting in your body. So I haven't got about my health challenge. I'm getting ready to do it now. So for those who are listening by radio, those who are watching on our social media platforms, I do a health challenge every month. So the health challenge this month is going to be your sugar intake. So you're going to probably need an app or something that can tell us how much sugar that you're intaking. I don't think y'all understand how much sugar y'all taking in. So I'm going to be kind of kind to y'all. So we're going to limit your sugar intake. I'm debating between 150 and 125. The problem is, y'all think y'all realize y'all probably taking like 300 grams of sugar a day. If y'all really track what y'all eating, y'all probably at that point. So when I tell y'all think 150, I'm good at 150 until you realize. So if you go to the Quick Trip and you get the little 20-ounce bottles of soda in the plastic bottles, that's like 100 grams of sugar right there. So you're already there. We haven't gotten to mayonnaise, ketchup, bread, all this other. There's sugar and other stuff. That's what I'm saying. So 150 is going to go like that in a couple of hours if you're not in control of what you're doing. So I'm gonna be nice to y'all. I'm gonna say 150, but the goal is to get down to 125 by the end of May, and then work on from there. All right. Exercise is going to be important because you need to start exercising. You need to start moving to burn all this excess sugar and fat out of your system. But MyFitnessPal is the app y'all need to download. There's a 30-day free trial on it, and then you can track what you're eating. You put everything in there and be honest about what you're eating, and you're going to realize your sugar intake is going to be around 300 grams probably if you really put in what you want. They got the restaurant foods in there too. So if you go out to eat in restaurants, you can just type in the restaurant and they have all their menu in there, and it tells you what's in all that. So 150 grams to start off. By the end of May, I want y'all to be down to 125 grams or less. So if you cut out soda, you should be able to hit this with no problem. But if you're a big soda drinker, it's going to be a challenge for you. So the soda drinkers, this is going to be a challenge because if you're eating soda, you're probably at 150 with soda by the amount of soda you're drinking every day. So you're already at 150 grams. So cutting out soda and juice, you will get your sugar intake to where it needs to be. And it's going to be rough. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be a little rough in the first week or two, but it'll be beneficial later on because then you'll get used to not needing that much sugar in your system. So 150 grams to start out. By the end of May, let's have our sugar intake on a daily basis down to 125. So we good with that? Oh man, it's quiet. Everybody quiet. You eat these foods right here, you can hit that with no problem. So you eat these foods on a daily basis as part of your daily regimen of eating, you'll be able to hit the 150 grams of less than 150, 100 less, 125 less. I'm below 70 every day now. So, but like I said, when I had to give up that cappuccino, I'm trying to warn y'all because it's going to be hard because once you decrease that out of your system, your body's no longer getting that. It's going to be fighting you. So you have to take this into prayer. That's why it's prayer and fasting, right? You got to have the prayer in it because you're going to need the prayer to help you break that hold that the sugar has over you. So you add the prayer to it, then you should be able to break the fast. It's going to be a little rough, but if you take this to the Lord in prayer, He'll help you to get through all this sugar that we're intaking. Because we want to make sure that when the time comes, that our appetite doesn't help us, because we don't have our appetite under control. We are now turning in folks and turning on our families and stuff like that because we don't have our appetite under control. So I'm going to end with this little tidbit. As some may know, I'm a Stargate fan. So one of the episodes of Stargate, this alien being comes to the portal, and he's here to help the humans, when really he wasn't. But he was a gluttonous. I mean, he had like this long list of dietary requirements. So they gave it to him, and he told them, okay, this is what's going on. These people are going to attack you here, and you need to be here to stop them. So, of course, he turns on him. He was, turned on them. So the humans figured it out, and they was like, okay, since you turn on us, you're going to give us all the information on whoever you're working for. And he said, why would I do that? And then the general was like, because of hunger. And he had like a big knot in his throat as he said it, because he was a gluttonous, right? He always eating. So now they introduce hunger to him. They're going to starve him for him to give up the information because he didn't. So if you don't have control of your appetite, right? The symbolism is if you don't have control of your appetite, when the time comes, you may turn in or give up people that you love because you don't have control of your appetite. That's how important it is to understand your appetite. So you need to be in control of your appetite. You should be able to go a day without eating. That should be That should be a normal thing in your weekly eating routine, is go 20, 22 hours without eating, because you never know when something comes up and you may have to go 20 or 22 hours a day without eating. And if you're used to doing that on a weekly basis, then okay, I can do that and move on until I get to the next, whenever situation is situated. So just keep that in mind as we get ready to close. What I want to do right now is real quick, I want to offer a prayer. If you want to come up front, to get control over our appetites, because that's something going to be key in the last days. And if you want to come up front, and I can have prayer, or if anybody who wants to come up front for us eating habits, getting the victory over eating, I want to do that for everybody, so we can understand what's going on and understand how our eating can affect us. So anybody wants to come up for prayer over eating or anything like that, or appetite, or something that you're struggling with, some food that you're struggling with, I want everybody to come up front, and I can do a quick prayer, and then we can close. Let's go ahead and bow our heads. Father, which art in heaven, we thank you for the people that have come up front. Ask and pray, Lord, you know the things they are struggling with, Lord. Ask and pray that you will give them the victory over whatever food is besetting them, Lord. Ask and pray, Lord, that you will help us to be disciplined in our eating. Help us to research and look into things that we're eating, Lord, and understand what we're putting in our bodies, Lord. And the things that we find out that are unhealthy, Lord, I ask and pray that you will give us the victory over those things, Lord. We know some of these things we're only going to be able to get over it through you, Lord. So I ask and pray for the people who came up front, Lord. Give them the spiritual mindset, the spiritual discipline needed, Lord, to overcome whatever foods they are eating or they need to get over, Lord. And also be with the people who are also in their seats, Lord. I want to pray for them, even though they may not come up front. Any foods that they're suffering with or have a hard time giving up, I ask and pray that you will remove those things from them. And also for me, Lord, whatever things I'm still struggling with, Lord, I ask and pray that you'll help me to be disciplined about that and be able to be disciplined in my eating and remove that from my life also, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.